Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. They say silence is golden, but a woman rarely gets to hear it. You think she's resting, done. But she's planning. You think she's watching TV, but she's also remembering what the kids need for school, what bills are due, what her mother said last week that didn't sit right. She's not just thinking, she's calculating, measuring, managing, balancing, and all of it. Every single bit of it is invisible to the world around her. You see her sitting still. That's not peace. Done. That's a battlefield behind her eyes. Because a woman's brain, it can't relax. Not when she's raising children. Not when she's holding a job and a family together like duct tape on a cracked wall. Not when the world expects her to be strong, but gentle, tough, but soft, available, but never overwhelmed. Let me be real with you. When a man comes home, he's allowed to check out. Sports, couch, feet up. No one questions it. When a woman comes home, she's stepping into her second shift. Laundry, dinner, homework, emotions. Everybody else is first, hers last. And we wonder why she's tired. We wonder why her smile sometimes fades in the quiet. We wonder why her eyes look off into the distance like she's somewhere else entirely. It's because she is. She's solving tomorrow while surviving today. Let me say that again. She's solving tomorrow while surviving today. And yet, she does it every single day. So if you're a woman, hear me. You don't owe the world your exhaustion. You don't have to earn rest with pain. You are allowed to exhale without apology. And if you love a woman, listen to me. You better protect her peace like it's sacred, because it is. Rub her shoulders without her asking. Handle the little things so her mind can breathe. And don't just thank her, see her. Because a woman's brain, it's powerful, but it sure as hell deserves a break. A woman's mind is always active. Planning, remembering, managing. Done. Her mental labor is invisible but constant. Society normalizes male rest, but not female rest. Women often carry emotional and logistical burdens silently. Rest is not a reward. It's a right. If you love a woman, protect her peace. A woman's mind is always active. Planning, remembering, managing. Done. It doesn't turn off just because sun sets or the clock hits a certain hour. Even in the moments that seem calm. Done. When she's sitting on the couch or lying in bed, her brain is still running. She's going over the grocery list in her head. What you think I've remembering that the laundry needs to be switched, calculating how long it'll take to get the kids ready in the morning, or mentally preparing for that difficult meeting at work. Even if her body rests, her mind is balancing 1,000 invisible tasks. It starts the moment she wakes up. Before her feet touch the floor, her mind is already in motion. She's thinking about what needs to be packed in the lunch boxes, whether there's enough milk left for breakfast, if her daughter remembered to bring her gym clothes, or if her partner handled that call he promised to make yesterday. The list isn't written anywhere, but it lives in her head. An endless scroll of responsibilities she never asked for, but carries without fail. Throughout the day, her thoughts are layered. She could be on a work call, nodding and responding, while also worrying whether the prescription got picked up. If her friend is okay after that text she sent last night, or if she remembered to move money over to cover that bill. Her brain doesn't compartmentalize neatly. Everything is connected, woven together like threads in a tapestry. She never gets to hang up. She doesn't get the luxury of focusing on one thing at a time. Life won't allow it. So she multitasks because she has to, not because she wants to. This constant activity isn't a sign of disorder. It's a function of responsibility. She's not anxious because she's weak. She's anxious because everything depends on her being ahead of the curve. If she forgets one thing, the dominoes fall. That's why she remembers birthdays, clothing sizes, allergies, food preferences, and everything else no one else bothers to write down. She remembers because no one else will. Her brain becomes the storage unit for her entire world's needs. Even when she's alone, her thoughts aren't. She's reliving conversations, second-guessing decisions, anticipating reactions. She thinks about the things she didn't say, the way someone looked at her, the tone in their voice. She examines it all, trying to make sense of the world and her place in it. Her brain is processing emotion, memory, logistics, and planning all at once. And if she has kids, add an entire layer of maternal calculation to that. Is my child happy? Are they thriving? Did I respond with enough patience today? Am I doing enough? Her mental labor extends far beyond her job or her role in the family. It's in how she navigates public spaces, how she watches her tone, how she keeps herself safe without seeming afraid. She thinks ahead before speaking, calculating what can be said and how it will be received. She thinks about how her choices affect others. She anticipates needs before they're expressed. She gives energy to people before they even know they require it. And yet, most of this labor is unseen. No one gives her an award for remembering to schedule the dentist appointment 6 months in advance. No one sees her silently absorbing the emotional weight of others so they can feel lighter. No one notices how she reroutes the entire family schedule in her head when something unexpected comes up. It's invisible work, but it's real. And it never stops. She doesn't ask for recognition. She's used to being the one who holds things together. She's been taught that it's her role, her gift, her burden. But the truth is, the world runs on her mental energy. She's the one keeping the machine oiled and moving. Her thoughts are the architecture beneath every smooth day her loved ones experience. And when she tries to rest, the lists and worries follow her. Her brain won't give her silence until everything feels settled. And it never really is. Even joy comes layered with responsibility. A vacation requires her to plan bags, snacks, the weather checks, and what time to leave. A birthday party means invites decorations, food, and cleanup. Nothing is just fun. Everything requires her coordination, her thinking, her memory. Her joy is purchased with labor, and even then, she's not guaranteed peace. Her brain is still ticking, still reviewing, still scanning for what needs to be done next. Her mental labor is invisible but constant. It's the kind of work that doesn't show up on paper, doesn't get listed in a resume, and doesn't come with a paycheck or formal recognition. Yet it shapes everything. It keeps households running, relationships intact, and crises averted. It's quiet behind the scenes, but it demands more energy than most people ever realize, while others go about their day unaware. She's keeping a mental checklist that never empties, never pauses, and rarely gets acknowledged. She knows where every item in the house belongs, how much is left, and when to restock. She doesn't just cook the meal. She thinks of what everyone likes, what's healthy, what's in the fridge, and how long it'll take to make her a full day of work. She knows who has a dentist appointment next month, who needs a permission slip signed, who's falling behind in school but won't say it out loud. And somehow she remembers all of it. She stores this data in her mind like a living, breathing calendar, but no one sees that effort. There are no timesheets for emotional labor. No one counts the minutes she spends talking a friend through a hard time or sensing tension in the room and easing it without a word. When someone's mood shifts, she notices first. When something needs fixing, she gets to it before it's even asked. People around her assume she's just naturally nurturing, naturally on top of things. But what they don't see is how much mental space that takes. She's not just reacting. She's anticipating constantly. That readiness lives in her body, and it never goes away. Even in conversations, her mind is working double time. She's listening, yes, but she's also monitoring tone, remembering past details, trying not to forget that important thing she needs to bring up. She makes others feel heard because she genuinely listens. But no one asks how much energy that costs her. It's the kind of emotional tuning that looks effortless but runs deep. She holds space for other people's feelings while juggling her own in silence. She doesn't stop thinking when the doors close at night. That's when it really begins. She replays the day, wonders if she was too sharp or not clear enough, if she showed up the way she meant to. She thinks of the to-do list she didn't finish and what needs to be done tomorrow to keep everything on track. Her rest is shallow because her mind never checks out. It's always calculating. What's missing? What's next? What needs care? Done. The expectations placed on her are often unspoken. No one tells her she has to remember everything, manage everything, soften everything. But it happens anyway. The people around her get used to it. They rely on it. The more she does, the less anyone notices. Her ability becomes the standard. Her attention becomes expected. She becomes the fixer, the planner, the buffer. And that role becomes invisible, even as it drains her. She's praised for her strength, but rarely offered softness in return. When things go well, no one questions how much effort it took behind the scenes. The smoothness of life is attributed to luck or simplicity, not the countless micro decisions she made to hold it all together. She's the one who remembered to bring the snacks, who noticed the empty tank and filled it up, who made the call before it became a problem. These things are rarely celebrated because they're assumed. They blend into the background of daily life. And still, she continues because the cost of forgetting or letting go feels too high. She's often told she's good at multitasking, but multitasking is just what survival has looked like. She didn't choose this. It was handed to her piece by piece, roll by roll, until the full weight of the mental load became hers to carry. And it's heavy, not because she's weak, because it never stops shifting. Just when one task is complete, another emerges. Just when one worry fades, another takes its place. There is no finish line to this kind of labor. It simply renews itself every day. People don't see the fatigue behind her eyes, not because she hides it well, but because society isn't trained to look. They see the surface, organized, calm, efficient, but they don't see what it costs. They don't hear the constant mental chatter, the reordering of priorities, the worry that she might miss something crucial. They don't realize that while everyone else gets to focus on what's in front of them, she's holding the whole structure in her mind, quietly making sure nothing falls apart. Society normalizes male rest, but not female rest. It's seen in the small things, in the daily routines, in the expectations that pass from generation to generation without question. When a man comes home after work and stretches out on the couch, no one blinks. It's accepted. It's understood. He worked hard. He deserves a break. When he tunes out with a game, a drink, or a remote in hand, that moment is protected like it's sacred. He's allowed to turn off, to disconnect, to breathe without guilt or commentary. But when a woman tries to rest, the room doesn't allow it. There's a glance toward the dishes, a comment about laundry, a child pulling on her sleeve, a partner asking what's for dinner. Her break is never uninterrupted. Her silence is always filled by someone else's need. Rest for her isn't a default. It's a negotiation. She must justify it, schedule it, yukabden. Even then, it comes with an internal voice reminding her of everything still undone. Society has built a quiet rule book that says men earn rest through work, but women must earn it through exhaustion. Even in homes where both partner full-time, the division of rest remains unequal. A man's tiredness is assumed. A woman's is questioned. Is she really that tired? Couldn't she just push through? Maybe she's being dramatic, emotional, lazy. She has to prove her fatigue is real. Done. Explain it, defend it. She has to show signs, physical, emotional, undeniable, before anyone takes it seriously. And often, even then, she's told to keep going. She's strong after all. She always has been. The cultural narrative around rest is steeped in gender. Male rest is framed as recovery. Female rest is framed as indulgence. Men are seen as resetting for greatness, recharging before the next climb. Women are seen as slacking off, stepping away from duty, letting others down. Done. The very idea that a woman would sit and do nothing is almost offensive to the structures around her. Someone will always ask where she is, why something hasn't been done when she plans to get up. The space around her refuses to stay still when she does. Done. And it starts early. Little boys are praised for their bursts of energy, and their need for space is honored. Little girls are praised for their helpfulness, for their willingness to clean, care, and share. They're taught that stillness should come after service, that they are valuable when they're useful. So they grow up measuring their worth by how much they give, how much they carry, how well they manage everything without asking for help. Rest doesn't fit into that picture. It feels like a flaw in the system they were told to uphold. In professional spaces, it continues. Done. A man who takes a mental health day is taking care of himself. A woman who does the same might be seen as unstable, uncommitted, unreliable. A man who sets boundaries is admired for his discipline. A woman who does is labeled difficult or cold, so she keeps showing up even when she's tired, even when her body is whispering that it needs a pause. She shows up because rest feels like a risk she can't afford. The irony is that she does more of the unpaid, unseen labor that keeps life functioning for everyone else. She coordinates calendars, sends the birthday gifts, schedules the appointments, remembers the small details that make people feel loved. And yet, the moment she sits down, the world expects her to rise again. It doesn't matter how much she's done. What matters is that something always remains to be done, and it's assumed she'll do it. So rest becomes a burden instead of a right. It carries guilt instead of grace. In relationships, this dynamic is often unspoken. She watches him rest while she folds the towels. She hears the silence he's allowed to enjoy while she answers another question, wipes another counter, picks up another item off the floor. And if she mentions it, it becomes an argument. I didn't know you needed help, he says. But the truth is, he didn't have to know. He never had to. She made everything work without asking for much. And so his rest was built on her labor. Even when she finds time to rest, it's rarely true rest. Her mind stays active, scanning for what's next, what's missing, what might fall apart if she's not paying attention. She scrolls through reminders, makes mental notes, watches the clock. She can't afford to forget. She can't afford to fully let go. The world has taught her that everything she touches must stay in motion. And if it stops, it's her fault. So her rest is brief, interrupted, and often followed by shame or a rush to catch up. Women often carry emotional and logistical burdens silently. It's not just about remembering schedules, appointments, or meal plans. It's also about holding space for others, keeping track of moods, anticipating reactions, smoothing over tensions before they explode. She walks through her day tuned into everyone around her, reading body language, interpreting silences, decoding unspoken needs. She picks up on the smallest shifts and adjusts accordingly, often without anyone noticing an effort it takes. That kind of vigilance doesn't just happen. It drains her. It wears on her. But she doesn't say anything. She's used to being the one who absorbs. There's a weight in knowing what everyone else needs before they even speak. She senses when her child is overwhelmed, when her partner is distant, when her coworker is carrying something heavy. She checks in, comforts, reassures, makes things easier. She does it because she cares, but also because the alternative, conflict, tensions, mess is harder to live with. So she becomes the buffer, the emotional translator, the one who keeps everything running smoothly on the surface while beneath her own feelings are shelved. She manages the logistics of daily life like a silent CEO who needs to be where, when, and with what. What's in the pantry, what's due at school, what bills are about to hit. She doesn't just remember, she plans, coordinates, and executes. And even though she may not call it a system, it is. A system that runs on her attention, her memory, her ability to think 3 steps ahead. If she falters, things unravel. People forget how much depends on her because she rarely lets anything fall apart. She holds it all in place without calling attention to herself. It's not that she wants to be invisible. It's that speaking up about the weight she carries often leads to judgment, dismissal, or defensiveness. So she keeps quiet. She swallows the frustration. She tells herself it's not worth the fight. She convinces herself that this is just the way it is. And over time, that silence becomes a habit. She nods instead of protesting. She smiles instead of crying. She says, "It's fine," because that's easier than explaining all the layers of what she actually feels. Even when she finally speaks up, she does so carefully, measured, soft, so no one feels accused. She frames her needs as requests, her exhaustion as a temporary thing, her frustration as a momentary slip. She tries to be heard without causing discomfort. And even then, sometimes the people around her get defensive or dismissive. So she retreats again, back into silence, back into managing everything on her own. There is a quiet pain in being the one who notices everything but is rarely noticed. In being the one who holds space for others while her own space remains empty. In being strong not because she wants to be, but because the world leaves her no choice. She keeps caring, keeps managing, even when no one sees it, even when no one says thank you. Because the cost of letting go feels greater than the cost of holding on. Rest is not a reward. It's a right. Done. It doesn't have to be earned through exhaustion or bought with suffering. It shouldn't come only after collapse or only when there's nothing left to give. Rest is a basic human need, but the way the world treats women makes it feel like something extra, something they can have only after everyone else is taken care of. She grows up learning that she has to give everything before she takes anything. That to sit still while there's work to do is selfish, lazy, or weak. So she keeps moving, keeps doing, keeps proving her worth through action. Even when her body is tired, she questions whether she's tired enough. Even when her mind is racing, she wonders if it really justifies a break. She looks around and sees things still undone, people still needing her, and she tells herself just a little more. That phrase repeats itself day after day, week after week, until it becomes her rhythm. Just a little more. Just until this is done. Just until they're okay. Just until it all feels handled. But that finish line keeps moving. There's always something else done. Always someone else. Always a new task waiting in line. She's taught to take pride in how much she can handle. She hears praise for her strength, her resilience, her selflessness. And while the words sound kind, they build a cage around her. Because if she is strong, then she doesn't need a break. If she's resilient, then she'll keep pushing. If she's selfless, then rest becomes the opposite of who she's supposed to be. Done. So even when she wants to stop, there's a voice inside, sometimes her own, sometimes someone else's, telling her that rest must be justified, that it has to come with a reason, that she has to prove her right to pause. But rest is not a trophy for survival. It is not a prize at the end of a long list of accomplishments. It is not something she has to buy back with productivity. It is part of being human. Just like hunger or sleep or love, the need to rest is not negotiable. When she ignores that need long enough, it starts to show. In her face, in her voice, in her relationships. Her patience shortens. Her thoughts scatter. Her body aches in places she used to ignore. And still, she keeps pushing because the world around her rarely stops to say, "You've done enough." People are quick to notice when she misses a step, but slow to recognize the 1,000 steps she took before that. They ask why she looks tired, but not what's keeping her from resting. They offer advice about time management without acknowledging the imbalance of emotional and physical labor she carries. They celebrate her hustle, but never encourage her to sit still. She becomes someone who keeps giving long after she's run out, because saying no feels unnatural, because pausing feels like quitting, because rest in her world has never been neutral. It has always been framed as optional. In the quiet moments she does claim for herself, guilt often follows. She finally sits down, and instead of peace, her mind fills with reminders. Done. The mess on the floor, the email she forgot to answer, the call she still needs to return. Her rest is accompanied by a mental slideshow of everything she left undone. It doesn't feel like relief. It feels like delay, like something she'll have to pay for later. So even when she's resting, she's not really resting. Her body may be still, but her brain is racing. Her heart is uneasy. Her spirit is restless. What she needs is permission, but not from others. She needs it from herself. Done. To recognize that she doesn't have to earn her rest with pain. That rest is not a weakness or a luxury. Done. That it's not something she should apologize for or explain. She doesn't have to be on the brink of burnout to stop. She doesn't need to be everything to everyone before taking a breath for herself. Her value is not measured by how depleted she is. Her worth is not tied to her ability to endure. Rest is not abandonment of duty. It is restoration of self. It is not selfishness. It is self-respect. Done. It is not failure. It is fuel. The world will continue to ask for more than she can give unless she learns to say, "I need this time. I need this space," not as a reward, not as a favor, but because she is human, because she matters, because being well is not a bonus. It's the baseline. Even when a woman appears calm, her mind is rarely quiet. Her thoughts move like a river beneath the surface, fast, winding, unrelenting. She might be sitting still, answering questions, holding eye contact, nodding in a meeting, but inside, she's calculating everything. What time dinner needs to be started, whether she replied to that message, if she remembered to pack the lunch, if the tone she used earlier sounded too harsh. She's scanning for cracks, for signals, for things that might go wrong if she doesn't stay ahead of them. Her peace is often a performance, her quiet a mask, because stillness for her does not mean still. Her brain stays engaged long after the task ends. Even when the work is done, the thinking doesn't stop. She replays conversations. Done. Tries to catch things she may have missed, reconsiders decisions. Not because she's unsure, but because she's responsible. The stakes feel different when you're expected to be the one who holds everything together. She doesn't just act, she anticipates. She worries not only about what is, but what could be. And that constant mental rehearsal is exhausting. It creates tension in her shoulders, pressure in her chest, headaches that have no clear source but stay for days. Multitasking isn't a skill she learned. It's a survival response. It's what happens when there's always more than one thing needing her attention. Her mind splits itself in parts. While she's listening to someone speak, she's also running through errands. While she's cooking dinner, she's helping with homework. While she's in a meeting, she's remembering to send that email, pay that bill, follow up on that text. Done. There's rarely a moment where one thing has her full focus. And that division of attention takes a toll. It makes her feel like she's never doing anything fully, only partially. Spread then across 100 tiny threads. Even in moments designed for rest, her mind resists. She lays down, but instead there are lists. Lists of what she forgot. Lists of what she has to do. Conversations she needs to have. Things she said that she wishes she hadn't. Ideas for tomorrow. Regrets from yesterday. Her body might be still, but her mind is pacing, restless and loud. She tries breathing exercises, gratitude lists, distractions. Sometimes they help. Most times they don't. Because the noise isn't random. It's built into her. It's part of what keeps everything else from falling apart. She carries the mental weight of others as if it's her own. If someone she loves is hurting, she hurts with them. If someone is angry, she replays the words, tries to understand, finds ways to soothe. She notices when someone goes quiet. She picks up on what isn't being said. And she carries those pieces in her mind, trying to make sense of them, trying to help without being asked. That emotional tuning comes at a cost. It's beautiful and draining at the same time, because while she's processing everyone else's storms, she rarely gives herself permission to acknowledge her own. She often hides how busy her mind is, because showing it can be misunderstood. If she voices her thoughts, people might call her dramatic, anxious, obsessive. So she filters, she smiles. She minimizes the weight of what she's carrying. She makes it look easy, even when it's not done. And because she makes it look easy, people assume it is. They assume she's fine, that she doesn't need help, that this level of vigilance is just her nature. What they don't see is that her mind is always working, always on guard, always measuring risk, emotion, timing, responsibility. Even joy has to be managed carefully. If she lets herself enjoy too much, there's a fear of what she might be forgetting. A fear of what's waiting on the other side of that laughter. Something broken. Something she'll have to fix. So she tempers her joy. Done. She keeps one part of her mind in the background, ready to shift back into problem-solving mode at any moment. That background noise never really shuts off. It hums quietly behind everything she does, keeping her alert, keeping her in motion. People compliment her ability to stay calm under pressure, to keep things running, to never forget the details. What they don't realize is that her brain has learned to never stop. It has adapted to overfunctioning, to monitoring, tracking, adjusting. And while it looks like control on the outside, it often feels like chaos on the inside. Because calm is not the absence of thought. For her, I've done, it's the ability to keep thinking through the noise, to carry the load without letting it show, to maintain the illusion of ease even when everything in her mind is moving all at once. Thank you.